Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Ask Shannon podcast. My name is Gary Decker, and I am here today with Shannon Gabriel, Managing Director of Leadership Solutions at TBM Consulting. I have the distinct pleasure and privilege of working with Shannon on several client projects, and today we are going to discuss some questions and concerns that LinkedIn members have submitted around how to break out of the traditional approaches to recruiting and retaining human capital. Welcome, Shannon. It is great, as always, to be with you and to learn from you here today.
Mr. Decker, good to be here. Glad you're here with me.
Ready to dig in?
Let's do it.
All right. So, Shannon, manufacturing has struggled with labor challenges for years, even before COVID. But it seems that companies, in some cases, are stuck behind, as you like to call, the COVID curtain, and are not being flexible, innovative, or strategic about how they think about talent management. Some companies seem to think that the labor market is tough with a "it is what it is" mentality and keep doing the same things that haven't worked for years. And they're suffering not only from a productivity and profitability standpoint, but also from a competitive standpoint. LinkedIn members have reached out to you with some of their concerns, and there are some interesting ones here. One organization has noted that due to certain decisions made over the past 5 years, their reputation in the community has really suffered, which is negatively impacting their hiring ability. What can we do to restore our reputation?
Well, first, I think that the company needs to make sure that they understand the specifics on exactly what the reputation is in the market. A lot of times we make assumptions on what we believe it is.
Right.
Sometimes we're more positive than what the reality is in the situation. So I think the first would be to get to the root cause.
Yep.
And I would do that by reaching out to those that left in the past year or two. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to those where the sensitivity of them leaving is distanced enough that they're going to be open to having a conversation with you and sharing their feedback on their experience in working in the organization.
Right.
I think that honest feedback and those that you trust will have honest feedback, and it's a two-way conversation, or you're going to learn the most. Those that are the quick quits, we call them the quick quits, quote unquote, and those are the individuals that left and often ghosted within the first, could be days to weeks inside of their first day. Those are the ones that I get to the heart of first, because whatever situation they walked into, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It was worse than what they anticipated. And all of those reasons behind that led them to do a quick departure. Those are the ones I think you're going to learn the most from. So the frustration that's causing turnover, it often bleeds that into the market, where people start chatting as they go to the next organization. Could be low wages, poor culture, lack of training, hostile leadership or supervisors. All of those are fixable once you learn what they are.
Yeah. What input do you think that existing employees and supervisors and things can provide on that subject as well? Sometimes it's hard to catch the folks that have left after they've left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you can gain a lot from them if you have the right individual that can go in and actually capture that information in a safe space. When it's not confidential, the first thing that they're going to fear is that there's going to be retribution that comes behind it. And so if you have the right individual that can work and communicate and capture the information, that's going to be key. But they will be able to share what they hear and see and feel, all the things that are happening out on the shop floor.
Yeah. That's been my experience as well.
Yeah.
So on a related note, a second question that's come in is, how much of turnover issues are based on people that just don't want to work?
Oh, Gary, you and I've seen this before. We lived this just a few weeks ago at a client site. The answer to this is none. And I shouldn't say every, a lot of the companies that we're working with right now are sharing with us that when they reach back to the original discussion on this, it is what it is. Their first commentary is, or Shannon and Gary, there's nothing we can do about this. It is what it is in the market. People just don't want to come to work.
Right.
Well, that phrase being used so widely right now is a complete cop-out measure to avoid the obvious. In my personal opinion, Gary, tell me if you agree, you're hiring the wrong people.
Yeah. And not only that, sometimes it comes down to what you're doing internally. I've had to share with some leaders, no, it's not that they don't want to work. They don't want to work for you. I hate to say it. Right?
It's true because they've left that organization and they're working somewhere else tomorrow.
Yep.
Now, whether or not they stay long term is hard to say, but you're absolutely right. I would completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that if you're, if your labor and hiring strategy, I'll back it up a step. We just had a big CEO summit that we were talking to the group of CEOs for Tecum Capital, and I shared with them that if their hiring labor strategy is solely based on Indeed ads and your company website, then you don't have a hiring strategy. You're
Right.
pulling from the same group of people that are likely working at every company inside your geographic territory, and they're bouncing jobs and companies until they either find the last option or the highest paying job, and then they'll stick.
Yep. And I have even seen companies that have done so well that they have like a waiting list. They have more than enough people. So it's possible for sure.
I think so too.
All right, now here to a classic challenge. This one comes in. There seems to always be butting of heads between our operations team and HR. How much should changes made to our management practices be driven by operations team versus HR?
This is a big one right now.
Yeah.
I would say in the last year, we have seen this dominate most environments that we're stepping inside. And what it comes down to is the ops team, the operations team believes that they're not getting enough quality people, the highest quality of people in their new hires. And that is what's causing the turnover, voluntary or involuntary. And then HR believes that they are giving them the right quality people, and it's the operations team that needs to train and develop to keep them. So it's the 21 gun salute. It's not my fault, it's yours. And nothing gets resolved in it because the finger continues to get pointed and nobody is looking at the processes from within.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And I think HR can be a great strategic partner to operations, but operations, really needs to step in and take a stronger ownership, especially on onboarding and some of the initial training and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think what really needs to happen and what we've seen be effective is when we have worked with them to remedy this is build an effective process on both sides. So on the front end of it with the talent acquisition process, build processes around that portion of it. Do we have an effective labor strategy to get the right people? Are we going outside the lines of Indeed? Are we or should we incorporate the ops team as part of the hiring process, and then determine, is this value added or non-value added, and then the processes designed around the onboarding and training need to be designed and executed and followed by both teams. So I think the key to all of this is keeping everyone in their swim lane with clear expectations laid out and consistent communication between the department leaders so that they can continue forward and work together as opposed to not, quite
Yeah.
simply.
Yeah. I think strategy and culture come together so tightly in this space.
I think so too. I think when you harmonize those two, I think that it definitely blends itself out into the rest of the organization because you've got two groups that are working effectively on the front end of the process, and it can be done. We've seen it done effectively, even in sometimes the most challenging situations.
Well, Shannon, I don't have any more questions specifically, but any final thoughts that you might like to bring?
As we say at TBM, and certainly what we preach and follow, is that it always does come down to process, and the talent management piece is no different than that. And when you have defined processes, it certainly can create not only a more harmonious environment, but a more performance-driven one that can impact the company for the better.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Shannon, for your perspective on why and how companies should break away from traditional HR practices to elevate their reputation and success above their competition. And I'd like to thank everyone who is watching today, and I look forward to hearing and seeing more on our next episode of Ask Shannon.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Take care.